be the state of Vajradhara. Let's just do the 4 limitless contemplations. Just let me get that now. Okay. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semchen tamche dewatang dewe jutang denpa jutik dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawa jutik dungal mepe dewa tampatang minrawa jutik nearing chaktang nitang trawe tang nong chempola nepa jutik. Okay, everybody. Now at least, Marion, I know that you are the one with those lights. Okay, the beautiful lights. So tonight, we're going to do Let Wisdom Dawn from the Wheel of Life's Profound Teaching. Now, this is actually part 5 of the whole series that I'm going to give. And then I want to give one more, not next week, because the Lama will be here at the center. But the week after, I'll do the last part. And then all of you will know that these 6 sessions that I've done this year all constitute like a real rounded thing that you can give to any beginners. But also, I think, you know, we all need it, because as I actually teach it and study it, I realize that I learn more and more and more from it. Things that I maybe didn't know before, I now do know. And I think it's really a very interesting, all these subjects, just really looking at the relative truth is important, but always bearing in mind the ultimate truth, which lies beyond all these things that we're going through, all these karmic things. So I'm going to start with a very famous story by the Buddha, and it went about the Buddha that went like this. One day, the Buddha was sitting in the wood with 30 or 40 monks. They had an excellent lunch and they were enjoying the company of each other. There was a farmer passing by, and the farmer was very unhappy. He asked the Buddha and the monks whether they'd seen his cows passing by. The Buddha said they'd not seen any cows passing by. The farmer said, "Oh, monks, I'm so unhappy. I have 12 cows, and I don't know why they all ran away. I also have a few acres of sesame seed plantation, and the insects have eaten up everything. I suffer so much, I think I'm going to kill myself." The Buddha said, "My friend, we have not seen any cows passing by here, but you might tend to look for them in the other direction, because with his omniscience, he obviously could see where the cows were." So the farmer thanked him and ran away, and the Buddha turned to his monks and said, "My dear friends, you are the happiest people in the world. You don't have any cows to lose. If you have too many cows to take care of, you'll be very busy. That is why, in order to be happy, you have to learn the art of cow releasing. You release the cows one by one. In the beginning, you thought that those cows were essential to your happiness, and you tried to get more and more cows. But now you realize that cows are not really the conditions for your happiness. They constitute an obstacle for your happiness. That is why you are determined to release your cows." Now just close your eyes for 1 minute, okay? Just for 1 minute, and ponder for a minute. What cows am I holding on to? Have I missed the point? Is it success I'm looking for? Is it material things? Is it to be in control of everything? Have I got different goals? Am I hanging on to my negative situations, my negative karma, my negative everything? What cows am I really holding on to? because the farmer was so busy looking for his cows, he didn't even realize that probably the greatest teacher on earth was right there. And if he sat down there, he might have found a lot more treasure than the cows. So you think about that, ponder that, as I always do the pondering, and think about how many cows you're really holding on to at work, with your kids, with everything, because the cows are the distraction. Okay, I'm not saying you mustn't do what you have to do in this life, but the cows are the distraction. And when you hold too tight, as I was listening to Jamtro Rinpoche today, and he said that out of all the negative emotions, the grasping is the worst of all of them. It covers all the obscurations, the grasping and the holding on. And so I think that's what this is all about. And then the other little story, which I want to do, since we're going to do the wheel tonight, is the story of a man who'd been sentenced to 25 years of hard labor. He was shackled to the handle of an immense heavy wheel that was built into the wall. And from morning to night, he just had to turn this wheel. And the days and the years passed slowly. And during these many hours, he felt his muscles grow weary, the bones of his back. There's your little Sally. The bones of his back were breaking under the stress. And he would wonder just what it was he was accomplishing with this hard work of turning the wheel. Perhaps the wheel was part of a mill and he was grinding grain into flour. Maybe he was rotating a potter's wheel, maybe generating some kind of energy that was being used by people. When the long, long sentence was finally completed and the shackles were removed from the sinewy arms of a broken old man, the first thing he did was go round to the outside of the wall to see what he'd been laboring at for 25 years. To his horror, he discovered there was nothing there, just a wheel in the wall, unattached to any lever or gear. The man broke down in sobs. 25 years of hard labor, he wailed, and all for nothing. Had anyone benefited from it, be it man or beast, I could have accepted it. But to have worked and suffered for nothing at all, this is unbearable. There can be no more profound distress or disappointment than for one's life to be pointless. Now, these two stories, the releasing of the cow and the wheel, is very, very important, because if most of us look at our lives as our lives are, and as we're going on with our lives, we see a lot of repetitive stuff going on and on, just like that wheel turned on and on. Now, sometimes this is the story of the wheel of life. And sometimes there is something that benefits on the other side of the wheel that we're laboring at in this life. But sometimes it's pretty pointless. And when you look at that this negative, even the positive karma, on that relative level that I've been talking about, and Sally and Kerry, you can go back and watch some of the videos from before. But the thing is that when you look at the pointlessness sometimes of the wheel of life, and when you sometimes look at the pointlessness of our very own lives, what did I achieve today? What did I do? How many people did I help? How many things did I do that really benefited other people? When you've got that in your heart, it really makes a very big difference. And then from that, you want to actually go beyond. And that's what I've been talking about all the time, that we want to go beyond, not have a pointless wheel of life that goes on and on and on. For how many lifetimes? If we're lucky enough, it's a human life with a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity to wake up. If we're not lucky, it can be a really, really poverty-stricken life without anything in it. It can really go on and on and on and on, like that wheel in the story. And tonight, before we go on to the wheel, I want to say a couple of things, because if some of you who've been in the Dharma for quite a long time, you know, white Tara is often known as the wish-fulfilling wheel, white Tara. Now, for those of you that don't know what deities are, they are not external things. Actually, they're actually the union of emptiness and coherence. They're just a union of two things together, and they are our own inner qualities. They're not external. So when we're looking at a deity like white Tara, we are actually looking at something that is inside us that's pure and white. And she's known as the wish-fulfilling wheel. Imagine being known as the wish-fulfilling wheel. So everybody comes and gets what they need from you, and you're able to give it to them. Wrong. Okay. Because if you gave everything, if white Tara in you gave everything to everybody, it would have no benefit whatsoever. It would just keep you on that wheel of life. This is making me very happy, but it's very impermanent. And then I've got to go to something else and something else and something else. But the wish-fulfilling wheel that she is a very, very different wheel, because that wheel, she can provide you with what you want. If you make the prayers and the mantras, she can provide you with what you want. But it depends on whether you are in harmony with your awakened nature or not. Because if you aren't, it would be pointless to give you what you wished for. But a lot of people, when they've got cancers and everything, come to me and then they say to me, Melanie, if I could just live longer. And then I go, tell me why you want to live longer, because the white Tara with the wish-fulfilling wheel grants you long life and healing. That's where it comes from. But when you look at people, when I say, well, why do you want to go on with your life? Why don't you want to leave this life? They'll always go to me, well, I want to see my children grow up, and I want to be with my partner, and I want this and I want that. And I go, you're going to have to find another motivation if you get the response from the wish-fulfilling wheel. Because to go on with another life, be it positive or negative karma, is just like the wheel in the wall that turns on and on and on, never getting off it. So the reason you would be granted a long life, like I remember, Kathy, when you phoned me, when you had your diagnosis, okay, and I said to you, what is it that you want out of your life? I mean, I remember the doctors saying to you, you've got 4th stage cancer, you're not going to, we're going to try and do the chemo, but, it's in your being. What do we want? What we want is, as soon as we can ask for a little longer time in order to gain enlightenment, the wish-fulfilling wheel can grant you that. The ordinary wheel of life cannot grant you that, cannot grant you a longer life. It can just grant you the predictability of what you put into action is what you get out. But the wish-fulfilling wheel goes beyond that to another dimension. And so if you're on your way, let's say, if you're on your way to really getting enlightened and suddenly you have this terrible karma of a great illness or something, you can ask for more time, providing you can see what it is that you're meant to be learning, why this is being given to you, why this difficulty in your life is given to you is really important, because once you can see it, the chances are you've got a good chance from the wish-fulfilling wheel to actually have a longer life and to have healing. And so white Tara is the prism, that she's the prism, and from the white light, rays of colored light go out like that. And they're all the wisdoms, the enlightened activities that she can do. Now we can do that ourselves. So this is about the stunning wheel of the wish-granting Tara, the shining light of unlimited, very, very beautiful, enlightened activities. That's what she's really all about. And when you look at it, it's so very, very interesting, because we have to look at, what are we doing here? This is my big question tonight. What are we doing here? In the text, Boundless Vision, it's called Boundless Vision, a very, very interesting book. Boundless Vision by Tuku Tsolo. This is what he says. He says, and it's very profound, in the beginning, sentient beings, that's us, don't commit one iota of negative activity, with one exception. One exception, and that is with the exception of their failure to recognize, know the original face of the beautiful pure essence and the appearances that come out of that essence. Once we recognize that, we are liberated from our own creation, samsara. But not recognizing that leads to karma, negative emotions, and the wheel, the relative wheel of life, not the wish-fulfilling wheel. It's a very interesting thing. So in other words, in the beginning, there wasn't all this rubbish that there is on the earth plane. I don't like what you're saying, so I'm going to have you killed. I'm going to silence you. You know, that didn't exist. Horrible natures didn't exist. Those were just the result of what we saw and what we perceived. And what's really, really important is to understand that in the beginning, the only thing that we did not do was recognize that whatever came, the essence was pure. Its emptiness, its purity, its absolute essence, you can call it the God force if you want. If that is pure, then whatever manifests is pure, and it goes back into the essence. But if you can't see that, and if you're caught on the wheel of life, then you're going to see the impure illusory vision. And the impure illusory vision is filled with all your creations, all your rubbish, all the things you believe, all the things you're holding onto, everything you're clutching onto. That's what you're going to see, until one day you realize that there's no iota of negative activity. It's just our perception that creates it, and our perception that keeps the wheel of life turning all the time. That's what's very important. So it's like we have to go back to the point and start again, seeing the world with different eyes. Very important. Very important. So, okay, tonight, we're going to go back just over the three. We're going to, I just want to do a couple of other things, and then we'll go straight on to look at that wheel. And we can have a picture of it, not yet. Patrul Rinpoche was this amazing master. I mean, actually, all he possessed was one little stick with this little bag of things at the back. He was always wandering around. From time to time, people gave him a little home where he stayed, but really he never did. He was a wandering yogi all the time. So what he used to do was, he used to go to the forests and go and meditate and teach. And people used to come into the forest and be there with him. But unfortunately, there was very little edible food in the forest. Okay, but he didn't care about that. But for him, the food was the teachings that he gave. And usually when all these people came into the forest, they would bring some tea with them. So they used to laugh, because they used to say, in the beginning, when they drank tea, it was strong and delicious, And they called that the near Manakaya tea because it was strong in the earth, they'd drink it. As they went through weeks with hardly eating and hardly anything, the tea got weaker, the tea bags got weaker, and they used to call it the strong, the weak, and the very weak tea bags. But they used to say the weak tea bag was the essence because it never had any taste. It was just one absolute taste. Anyway, one day when he was in the forest and really with all these people, they were a little hungry, but never mind. This is the poem that he wrote, which I think is really, really good. He said, suffering is good and happiness is not good. He said, happiness inflames the 5 poisons of passion. Suffering exhausts the bad karmas accumulated in the past. He says, suffering is the grace of the Lama. Criticism is good, he said, and compliments are not good. He says, if I'm complimented, I will be inflated with arrogance. If I'm criticized, my faults will be exposed. Poverty is good and prosperity is not good. Prosperity causes the great pains of earning more and preserving it, like when you've got the cows. Poverty causes dedication and accomplishment of the divine Dharma. That was the poem, and I think it's really something very worthwhile to keep. I often think about it when I am suffering. I think about that poem. But you know, when you look at your life, there does come a moment in your life which is a real time of reckoning. Sometimes it comes with a bereavement. Sometimes it comes with the loss of someone. Sometimes it comes when you lose your money or your business goes under. Sometimes it comes because you just have an amazing realization of something. But there comes a time, a moment in your life, which is a time of reckoning, a time to see yourself truly with all your dark motives, with all your pettiness, with your hang-ups, with your grudges, with your blames, with your wounds. Just a moment when you're really down, when this happens. And it's really important because all of that darkness is a special moment of awakening. It's when a new incarnation dawns. Now, when you look at the wheel of life, what we are looking at in the wheel of life is the moment when a new incarnation dawns in this incarnation, because you're still here. But it's like, if I look at what happened to you last week, Fee, I mean, I can cry because I really, to go through what you went through, when somebody hijacks you and takes away your whole identity, all your books, what you Americans have got to realize is you don't go online and get a new ID book and a new this and a new that. You go through sweat and tears to be able to get back those identities. And yet, what is that moment when all your identities of this life are taken away? Is it a time for a new incarnation? Maybe the universe is saying to you, I'm taking away your name, your number, your identity, all the things you do, all the things you know. And that's a time of darkness and a time of awakening. It's got to be a time that we change from the human perception to the pure perception. It's a very important time in our lives, okay? And it might be a near-death experience. It might be someone who hurt you so badly, but you're the lowest. And if you look at that low moment, it's when you change your incarnation in this incarnation. And without that, I'm not sure what we're doing here, because I think that where I am in my life now, I don't think I drive my husband mad because he says, you've always got tapes on in the bathroom and you're always listening in the car. I'm always listening because that's all I want to really listen to, because I'm coming nearer to the end of my life. And I really want to be able to liberate myself, if not in this life, then certainly straight after, when I've got the opportunity to see what I'm teaching. And without that, well, what is it? What is it really about? Now, James Lowe says, I spoke about the relative truth and the ultimate truth. James Lowe speaks of two streams, okay? And the one stream of explanation in Buddhism is the Buddhist principles of cause and effect. Why certain things come into existence, the reason they come into existence. They can only come into existence if we create them. You know, it tells the story of King Indrabhuti. King Indrabhuti was blind. The whole country had got in Tibet. The whole country had gone to pieces. There was famine. There was darkness. He couldn't see. He didn't have children. And what he did was he prayed. He knew the Amitabha Sutra, and he prayed, and he said he really needs the light. And what happened was, that was when Guru Rinpoche came onto a lotus, and he found him and took him as his child. But the point James Lowe makes is that we have to create the hook to bring in the accumulation of good karma. If you're just sitting there and you're not doing anything, and you're not bringing into being what you need, it's not going to come. Only when you are able to put in on a relative level what you need will you get it back. And that's why Lama Yeshe says to me all the time, when I say I need to do this, he goes, why don't you ask Guru Rinpoche? Why don't you ask Guru Rinpoche? You've got to create the cause for the condition to manifest for you. And many of us don't do this. And then we can't understand how we don't accumulate merit and wisdom, because we don't hook the cause there. So like when the Buddha became enlightened, what he decided when he was sitting at the Bodhi tree, he said, you know what? I absolutely cannot teach this to humans. They will never understand. They are so preoccupied with their lives. They are so preoccupied with everything they're doing. They will never, ever be able to understand this. But then these beautiful beings from the God realm came and said, please, you have to teach us. It's imperative that you give us what you've learned. We need it. And so he created the Four Noble Truths and all of these things, what Zongsa calls the Cinderella teachings, okay? He calls it so that we could understand. But had they not come and asked him, he said, I will be content to meditate in the forest for the rest of my life. So we need to create those causes. That's the first stream that James Lowe talks about. The second stream is what I was talking about in the ultimate last week, that the ultimate truth never was created, never goes away, and never dies. It's just always there. And when you wake up and you suddenly say, hang on, I really want to understand this, you'll start having glimpses of that beautiful nature of mind and its luminosity and its purity. And that's when you start waking up. If you don't wake up in this life and you don't realize that there is a whole nature of mind which is untouched by all the causes and conditions, then it's hopeless. So just to go back to last week, we were talking about the 3 marks of conditioned existence. And I realized afterwards, I forgot to tell you the 3rd one. So you can go back to the video and get them. But the 3 marks are impermanence. You have to know that everything on a relative basis is impermanent. Even your children are impermanent. When people ask me, am I going to see them all when I leave? Am I going to see my mother and father? Are we going to be, I often read people saying, and this lovely, happy family live happily ever after. Now they've all died and they're into each other's arms. I mean, what would you go back to the family that you were supposed to learn everything from? Carry them in your hearts. You don't need to go back to them again. It doesn't work like that. This is just the temporary drama. So impermanence, we have to think it every single day. The blessings we have are impermanent. The life we have is impermanent. The relationships we have are impermanent. The seasons are impermanent. I'm freaking out with heat. And don't forget to tell me in a couple of weeks when it gets really cold, yeah, but look how you were. You wished it would get cold because you were so hot. I'm so hot, I don't know what to do with myself. It's so hot. But the thing is that it changes. It's impermanent. We're like the seasons, all of us. The second mark of conditioned existence is the fact that there is no self. And that's what we talked about last week. You can go back and get it. The self is composed of form, feelings, perceptions, habits, and consciousness. Those 5. None of them are permanent. The only thing that goes with you is the alaya consciousness, in which all your habitual imprints are in. That goes with you, and there's no inherent self-concept. And our whole lives in samsara, you see motivational speakers, I'll do this for my life, and I'll do that for my life. Misses the point, because there's no inherent self. You might be going through a good time, but it's all not going to last very long, and none of it's permanent. And the 3rd mark, which I forgot to talk about last week, of the 3rd mark of conditioned existence is suffering. Suffering, suffering, suffering. I don't need to talk much about that, but the Buddha taught about 3 modes of suffering. Number 1, suffering of suffering. Okay, so the suffering of suffering is when you lose someone, then you get sick, then you lose your money, then it's on top of each other. Somebody, you kind of think this poor person can't get any more suffering. That's called the suffering of suffering, okay? And you can get more. It depends what you've created in the past. The second point of suffering is the suffering of change. We suffer so much of change. When I see Robert Redford, I want to go up to him when I see him on the screen, and I want to say, well done that you've embraced your old age, and you haven't taken your wrinkles, and you haven't made your face like this, and you look gorgeous. You're full of joy, you're full of everything. But some of these people, when I see them on the screen, they were beautiful young people, but when I see them, they look exactly like AI. They look like artificial intelligence because they've done so much not to be aging. I think each wrinkle on your face has got a story to it, and hopefully a little wisdom to it, So I think that the suffering of change, there's so many people that just can't allow change. They can't bow out gracefully. They still need to be at the top, it's an unbelievable. We suffer a lot from change instead of knowing it's impermanent. And the 3rd type of suffering is called the all-pervasive suffering, or the suffering that the suffering of conditioned existence. It's underlying in everything. I mean, I see that if you have a day where you're really tired, you suffer. If you have a day when someone insults you, you suffer. There's like an underlying suffering in everything, even if it's not a catastrophe. So those three types of suffering are inherent in this relative life. And when we understand it, we can really change it a lot. So I'm going to go onto the wheel, but maybe somebody wants to ask or say something. With pleasure, please do. Anyone want to or ask or say? Please don't. Yes, Esty.
When in life can we go to the other side of the wall and see what the turning of the wheel is doing?
You answer that for me. The day, let me tell you something. On the outside of the wheel of life, not the wish-fulfilling wheel, okay, are the realms, the 6 samsaric realms that we live in. Look here on Fiona's thing. Right around the edge are the 6 realms of samsara. I don't know if it's in this one, but in a lot of them, they have different, different illustrations of the wheel. But in any case, there are 6 realms as you go around, or you can even see them in the center of the realm, and you can see the 3 animals in the center of the wheel of life. Now, those 6 realms, thanks, Fee, just to give them an idea, I'll ask you for it back just now. When you look at those realms, what is a realm? A realm is your habitual momentum of what you keep doing over and over and over again. What is a realm? Okay, so when you say, how will we look? You have got, if you are caught in a realm, so say, for instance, somebody is a real grumpy person who really looks at everything negatively in life. They've always got a nasty thing to say. They're living in a hell realm. They're in a hell realm. It repeats and it repeats and it repeats. Or a hungry ghost realm. That's a realm when you can never get satisfied. I'm telling you that most of the people in our land are hungry ghost creatures. Okay, they can't get enough. I mean, even when they have a big fat salary in Parliament, they're still pinching from all the state-owned entities and everything else. It's a mentality, the hungry ghost realm, where it's not enough for me. It's not enough. It's never enough. Okay, that's a hungry ghost. An animal realm, most of us know, don't have much choice in what they're going to really do. The human realm, I don't have to tell you about. The jealous God realm, if you've ever gone to one of these private schools where it's like life and death, if your child gets the top marks or your child wins in the league or whatever, your child plays a particular role. It's a jealous God realm. If heaven forbid your child does better than mine, I hate you. Or if you're more beautiful than me, I hate you. Or why are you in this powerful position and I'm not? It's called a jealous God realm. And the God realm is where everything is perfect, and the Botox and all of those kind of things to keep up that facade. Now, these realms, coming to your question, took me a long time to answer it, because I was going to teach anyway a little bit on the realms. But the realms are your state of repetitive mind, what you keep creating. And the way out, here's my answer to your question, Esty. The way out of a realm, the way off the wheel of life, is to put up your hand, you're creating a cause, and you're going, there's got to be more to life than this. Okay, when you're in a hell realm and you're caught, and it repeats, and then the mountains close you in, and then you're boiling and your skin's coming off, and then it all ends, and then you're fine, and then it starts all over again. All you've got to do is just put your hand up and say, hey, somebody, there's got to be more than this. and you're out of the real. It is just one tool called awareness. That's why you're all sitting here, because you're tired of that wheel of life and you want to have a different way. You want to see things differently. You want to have a pure perception, which is the truth about the whole wheel. It's really, really important, very, very important that you all understand that. And so that's the way out. When you finally say, hang on, there's got to be more to life than this. And that's when you're out. Okay. Anyone else want a question or a comment or anything that you're feeling? Yes, Tat, I can see that mind is working overtime. I can see, okay. It's cute, your mind, but let's hear what it's saying, what it's thinking.
How do you know? You've said it. How do you know it?
That's very important. I'll tell you easily how you know it. It's a very good question. Jamtrul Rinpoche today said, there are 3 kinds of wisdoms. We're not talking about the 5 wisdoms. We're just talking about understanding, okay? The first wisdom is the wisdom of understanding, the hearing wisdom. So now what I'm giving you tonight, you are using hearing wisdom to actually understand it, okay? So that's the first wisdom. The second wisdom he spoke about, I loved it today. I thought I must write it down, but I didn't get to write it down. The second kind of wisdom is called contemplating wisdom. Now, that's a very interesting thing, because if something touches you tonight, of all the things I'm saying, then you've got to go into your contemplating wisdom. Even if you go to bed contemplating, that's fine. Or tomorrow morning, when you get up, you're just contemplating 1 or 2 things that touched your heart today, you know. And when you contemplating is a very interesting thing, because it's like dropping a pebble into the water and then it ripples of its own accord. So contemplating isn't thinking. It's like dropping the thought and then the thought ripples out and it just evolves by itself. That's called contemplating wisdom. So you take what you like from here and you contemplate. You're just sitting and looking into nature, or you're sitting in your shrine room and you're looking and you have contemplating wisdom. The third type of wisdom is called meditative wisdom. And that's when you realize, okay, but you don't have to be sitting in meditation to realize. It can sometimes be that you're just looking at the sky and you just have what we call a dawning. You know, when a dawning happens, when you see the sunrise, when you're like on holiday or you're looking out of your window, the sunrise dawns. It doesn't think, now I'm going to rise above and shine. It just dawns. Now that meditative wisdom is when it dawns. So suddenly you might even see something and it dawns on you what that is. Or you might be looking in the sky and it dawns on you that the essence is, what comes out of the essence is pure. It's a dawning. And that happens. And when you sit, I like to sit for quite a long time, but lots of people can't sit for long. And I don't care if you sit for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, it doesn't make any difference to me. It's how you are in your sitting. It's non-distraction. And in that sitting, it starts dawning. So it goes from the hearing wisdom to the contemplating wisdom, dropping it, to the meditative wisdom, realizing it. Does that help, that answer? And it will come slowly, Tatiana. It doesn't come in one go. Why? Because for so long we've been in the habit of doing what we've done. So it comes in little dawnings at first. Sometimes people have big dawnings, but mostly for us, it comes in little dawning. So what you need to do is during the day, just take 2 minutes out of your day every now and then and just sit in non-distraction. Let your mind not go after the thinking. Let the thinking come up, let it dissolve. The minute you go and you pick up the thinking, you're out of it. You're in the realms, okay? You really believe this thought is so much. So it's a very important question, what you're saying. And it takes time and dedication. I mean, I've been sort of really trying to let things dawn for years and years and years. And I have these little glimpses every now and then. And then, like I was saying to somebody who was saying to me about why do people have other relationships in marriages and things like that. She was talking to me about that. And I said, because people can't find that excitement inside themselves of who they are. So they look for more money or another relationship or something that's going to make them feel, excited about life. And that's what you feel when the dawning happens. You feel excited about your life and about waking up. So what is this wheel? When you ponder the wheel of life, you realize, oh my goodness, the more I study it, the more I teach it, the more I think it's amazing. 12 dependent links of co-arising, 12 dependent links. It's so interesting because so many people say to me, Melanie, why did I get these parents? Why did I get them? Or why did I lose them? Or why was my father an alcoholic? Or why was my mother abusive? Or why were my parents fighting? Or why did I lose them so young? No, whatever your parents had is your creation. Genetics is your creation. And when you look on the wheel of life, you see the first two links, which are ignorance. Ignorance means the first link on the wheel of life is called ignorance, ignoring the truth. What I said earlier, when you can't see what the truth is, and you really believe all your relative things, that's called ignorance, ignoring the truth of life. Plus, the second link, it's called volitional activity. What does that mean? The ignorance is represented by the blind grandmother, going on and on and on and on. She just never gets it, okay? Ignorance plus volitional activity. What does that mean? It means what you do. The potter, how you take your pot, how you mold it, what you put into action, what you do. Ignorance plus volitional activity equals the third link, rebirth consciousness, how you are born, what family you're born into, what circumstances you get in your life. Those are all created by your first link, ignorance, not seeing the truth, plus what you used, how you made your pottery, equals rebirth consciousness. And when they call rebirth, they call it impelling consciousness. Now, what happens when we learn about the wheel of life is this is the moment of waking up, because the impelling consciousness bashes you into the circumstances you need. Because as I told you, in your Alaya consciousness are all the imprints that you created, and they become the impelling consciousness. So when you're born, the circumstances of your life, poverty, abusive parents, no homes, blah, 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 whatever you're born into, those are your creation, your rebirth consciousness. It's not your parents are to blame. You're to blame because your impelling consciousness pushed you into those circumstances. Can you all understand? So when you look on this wheel of life, it's amazing because you actually see that in the beginning of the wheel of life are the karmic results of what you created in the previous lifetime. Then comes the next thing is the results of what you had, how you look, how you feel, what you are, how you thirst for things. All of those are the karmic results after when your rebirth consciousness is there. And then you go to the ones that create the new karma. Now, clearly, everybody, there's not much you can do about what you created before, except accept it. So if you were born fat, ugly, blind, without money, whatever else, these are the causes, the hook. That's what I was talking about in the beginning. The hook that you put forth that are now reaping those results. It's nobody else's fault. It's not God that said, hey, I don't like you. You're going to go into this family where you're not understood at all. Sometimes when I'm counseling somebody, I think to myself, you know what's amazing is, can you imagine if this child had had parents that understood him? What a different child he would have been. But he can't get those parents because he never set up the causes. The ignorance plus the volitional activity lead to the rebirth consciousness. And so how you are, the next three, which is your name, your form, how you look, your six sense organs, maybe you're deaf, maybe you're blind, maybe you can't smell, maybe you can't touch, maybe you're not sensitive, maybe one of your senses isn't working. You can't help that. It's already in motion from your own created causes, not outside causes, not God causes, your own creation. That is why it's so important to wake up now, because once you die and you're in the bardos, you can't change the conditions. You might still be able to, if you really are awake, you might still be able to wake up a little bit in the bardos, but your karma is there. Your impelling consciousness is there. And soon you're going to be catapulted, if you're lucky, into another human incarnation, also with not the things you really need for this lifetime. So it's this teaching, coming to you now, Tat, this teaching is so vital because you've got to see where is the point. Estee's question, how do you get out? Now, how you look, how you are, how you see, how you contact, how you meet all the objects of your environment are already, they're not predestined, but they are your birth consciousness. But once you go into the next links, those are the karma producing for the future. And there you can change. Tati, what did you want to ask?
How about your current life?
Yeah.
You said you can't change it. It's already there. Just accept it.
No.
But there must be more.
More. There is more.
You
Good.
can do to change it.
No, what I meant was the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 links. You can't change except in your acceptance, because they've already been set in motion by you. But now we're coming to the ones where you can change. Of course you can change in this life, but what I'm saying is, if you're born ugly, let's say, because it's hard in this very physical world, but even there, they can change it later by their inner beauty can come out and really make them absolutely beautiful. But they have got more difficulties, at school and teasing and things like that before. But that we can't really change. We can make the most of it. We can try and be, as helpful as we can in it. We can try and be accepting, but we can't change. But after number 6, all those things, ignorance, volitional activity, leads to your rebirth consciousness, which came from before, the impelling consciousness, which then gives you the result, your name, your form, the 6 sense organs, the contact, the meeting of the sense organs with what they have to meet. Those are all the things in our present life, but they change, Tat, because you know how people grow and they improve their physical appearance and they get that inner wisdom and that inner knowledge, and they actually are very attractive to people. They change the physicality of themselves. So it's not cast in stone that, but pretty much you are what you are from what you have created in the first 6 links. Okay, how you accept it, how you put it into practice is really up to you. But now we go to the next lot of the interdependent co-arising. This happens because of this. This happened because of that. That happened because of that, okay? So what we go is to the next 4, and they're called feeling, okay, feeling, thirsting. Thirsting is when you start a little bit of craving, thirsting and craving, okay, feeling, thirsting, grasping, that's the fatal one, grasping, and the last one is called being or becoming. Okay, now on all of those, feeling, thirsting, grasping, and then becoming, those are called the karma producing interdependent links. The others were the results. Now we come on to the karma producing. They are the ones where you can make big, big change. And how do you do that? How you do that is, what's so important is that you can change at the karma producing by not becoming that which you are. So now you've got all these circumstances, and they lead to the number 7, which is called feelings. Okay, now just watch people with their negative situations. Some people are amazing. They have just a wonderful attitude to their feelings. They're helpful, they're sharing, they just have a wonderful feeling. They never have resentment and anger about their feelings, are positive about it. Some people at that point develop terrible feelings. I'm nothing, I'm really awful, look how I look, I haven't got any money, I'm unsuccessful, I'm stupid, I'm absolutely unbelievable. Okay, so the feelings is already the beginning of how you can question yourself about it. When you go to thirsting or craving, what you're looking at now is, because I feel terrible about myself, I'm now looking for attention to everybody. I'm just giving you an example. Okay, I'm looking for everybody to praise me, to nurture me, to give me positive feedback. I'm craving it. And you see these people, when I'm at a group or I'm at something, you can see these people, they always need your attention. They're craving your attention. They're craving you to say, good girl, good boy, what amazing thing. The feelings start becoming thirsting and craving. I want more of this. I need more from you. My relationship with my partner, I need you to give me more. Not enough. Now it's going to the next link, which is called grasping. Grasping. Okay, so now the craving becomes holding on. Okay, the craving becomes grasping on. And and you drive everybody dilly because you want so much from them and you need so much from them. And you're grasping onto everything. And whoever's around, you want what they've got. You're grasping and grasping. And the grasping goes to becoming. That's who you become. And people run away from you. They don't want you anymore. And where you can change in these karma producing, as soon as you've got habitual feelings. So say, for example, you find yourself really getting angry a lot, and you're angry most of the time, and you keep on getting angry with people. You use the tool of awareness, which we've just been talking about. And the tool of awareness is, oh my goodness, I can see that I'm so angry. Angry is an obvious one, but one that I know a few of you have is guilt. Guilts and guilts and guilts and guilts and guilts. Okay, it's a habit in your feeling. It must be my fault that this happened. Oh no, I feel so bad about this. I feel so bad about that. I feel bad about taking anything from anyone. I feel bad about so many things. I feel so guilty. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I did do this. When you get to see those feelings, you stop. Either you're going to go away from the feelings, which is difficult, or you're going to see that the feelings are not concrete and real and are completely different. Okay? And already with the feelings, you stop that thirst. When you identify, I'm always asking for things, I'm always needing things from people, you identify it so you can stop. You say, I realize I'm doing it, I can't do this anymore. And that then doesn't lead to grasping, because what I started off was the story with the cows. You release the cows, you release it, you feel okay that everybody didn't give you attention that day. You feel okay about the circumstances of your life. You don't need to go to grasping and to holding on and finally to becoming. Because of course, if you become in the karma producing part of the wheel of life, then it leads to number 11 and number 12. And what's number 11 and number 12? Rebirth and old age, sickness and death. Going in again, okay? The same old stuff. The wheel goes round, and the wheel goes round, and the wheel goes round again. Hundreds of lifetimes. Now, the karma producing, you can wake up before the karma producing ones, because there are 12 interdependent links, and the Buddha taught them so that people can wake up and change what you asked Tatiana, what you asked Esty. It's so important, because the more I study this wheel of life, the more I realize how fascinating it is. And also, you've got to remember that your physical imprints, which means how you looked after your body, whether you exercised, whether you ate correctly, whether you looked after your illnesses, whether you did what you had to for your body, leads to the body of the next life. So if you are born with illness, ailments, difficulties in your body, eating disorders, obesity, skinniness, these are all what you did before. The physical imprints that you did with your body if you never exercised your body, if you never looked after your body, if you never ate correctly, if you abused your body with drugs, alcohol, blah, 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 blah. That is the body you will have in the next lifetime. The verbal imprints, I must give you a meditation quickly. The verbal imprints, in other words, how you speak. If you're a big gossip, if you're always judging other people, if you're always looking down on people, if you're always really saying negative things and being negative about everything, your verbal imprints are the quality of speech that you will have in the next lifetime. So when people say, I can't speak, I can't. Sometimes I say to people, get up and say what you want to say. No, I can't in front of people. How you have done your verbal imprints is what will be your speech in the next life. If you have the ability to speak well, means you used your verbal imprints very well. And your mental imprints, what you think constantly, what you feel constantly, what you put out in your mind constantly, becomes the mind of the next lifetime. And the wheel goes on and on and on. But you can wake up and you can get out and you can change. And if you are brave, you will look at yourself. You know, when people come to me, they have to be jolly brave, okay? Because they have to be brave. Sometimes I think I wouldn't like to come to me, okay? Sometimes I think, oh my God, because basically what I'm looking at in people is their karmic tapestry. I'm looking at what is repetitive in your life. Hey, this happened, and this was a different situation, but same process. And this was a different situation, same process. What have we got here? How do we read it on this amazing wheel of life that the Buddha taught us? You are repeating your patterns. That's why it's not changing. You need to look deeply and say, I really, really need to not repeat these patterns. I need to wake up and change. Then you'll go to the next life, because the next life is life, old age, no, life, babyhood, old age, sickness, death, once again. It's an amazing wheel, but I'm tired of that. I want to be the wish-fulfilling wheel. I want to be able to really say to people like, okay, what are you needing? You know, you can't do that with your relative mind, because then you're not seeing the purity of that person. You're not reading into who they are and what they are. Now, all of you have been concentrating for a long time tonight, okay? Really. And I'm sure you've got millions of questions and millions of things you want to say, but I think maybe we should just meditate and then questions. I won't teach you another thing tonight, promise. Anybody have an urgent thing they want to say? Anything. And I don't mind if it's Tatiana and Esty, it's fine. Anyone want to say? Patricia, you're smiling. And you, Daniela, you better say something now, because I won't answer your text otherwise. So what do you think, madam?
I have a few questions, but it's...
Go on. I'll answer them after the meditation, but please
Okay.
Tell me them. No, tell me the question.
Oh, I'm looking at, I wrote down
Okay,
quite a
good.
few. Start with any. The realms that you spoke about. So it seems like those are realms that we experience in our current human realm. So even though we're all humans, we can have experienced the God realm, the hungry ghost. So they
Yeah.
are like almost not metaphorical, but they're like, but then is there also like the actual realms? Because there are animals out there and
You
there
know
is.
what? I've got to answer that quickly because you're absolutely right. Now, when you read in a Buddhist textbook, it tells you their actual realms. So if you take somebody who's really been extremely cruel on the earth plane, let's say, okay, and really been awful and killed people and had wars and taken, really committed misery, they will definitely find themselves fully in a hell realm, when they are finished this life. But they will be able to get out of that in time and come into a human realm again when they can, but they'll have that momentum of the hell realm in them. But you're absolutely right. They are both, but we read in Buddhist textbooks that people are born into those realms. So perhaps what it is that when they aren't in a physical body, they're also in those realms, because there are people that are clearly in hungry ghost realms, that they describe them in the Buddhist textbooks. But I like to see them kind of metaphorically within the human realm, and even animals within the human realm, because some people are really vicious like animals and, don't have any forethought of what they're doing to other people and that kind of thing. Okay, so that's both levels are correct. And what are your other things? Just put them out and then we'll do the meditation.
Well, you mentioned one of the, I think it was the sixth one of the links. You said,
Okay.
unless I heard wrong, you said one of them. So obviously your physicality, all of that you're born into. Did you say your name? So
Yeah.
like,
First one is called name and form. The second one is called, I'll give you them exactly, the six sense organs. And the sixth one is called contact, which is when your organs meet everything in the environment, how they meet it. So for instance, if you're blind, you're not going to be able to see visually. You might be able to hear, whatever the case is. So those are the three of how you are in this lifetime and in this world,
so
which
your
is,
name, sorry, so they see even your name is like a comic sort
yeah,
of.
but your name is a karmic thing, but when they say name and form, they're not meaning your name is Daniela. It's not cast in stone what your name will be, okay? But name and form stand for everything you are in your physicality, like the family you're born into, and like, their religion, their this, their that, the other, all of that will be in the name and form, and then the sense organs, and then the contact. Those are all the description of who you are when you come into embodiment. It's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's really interesting to see, because how the Buddha taught this wheel of life is so amazing, because you really can get off. It's important that you know that. So I'll come back to you, but let's just do a little meditation, everybody. Just sit in your beautiful posture, your spinal column straight. We'll just do it quickly so you can all go to bed, not in America, but for the rest of you. And your spinal column is straight so that the beautiful energy winds can flow through your central column. And practice your shamatha meditation, breathing in and out, and allowing everything in your mind to just come up, not holding on to any of the cows, releasing them into emptiness into spaciousness and bringing your mind back. The most important training of all is non-distraction. That you don't go back into the thought, pick it up, grasp it, dissect it, judge it, hold it, think another thought. When you do your shamatha, you're just breathing in and out, and you're just allowing everything to rise up, just dissolve, coming back to the breath. And this evening, let's just look very, very briefly at the wheel of life. And I want you all to just for 1 second ponder your childhood. Look at the kind of parents you were in. Look at your physicality. Look at your sorrows. Look at your joys. Look at whether you were recognized or not by your parents. Look at whether you had enough of things in your life. Try and see your ignorance plus your volitional activity landed you in this embodiment. And it's not always external. It's not always how you look, whether you've got money, whether you lose, whether you don't, whether your father drank. It's not only those things. It's how you felt in your family, how you felt, whether you felt safe, whether you felt rejected, whether you felt positive about your whole childhood. Just look at your whole rebirth consciousness, how you were. Were you a positively disposed child? Were you fearful? Were you anxious? How were you in your childhood? Did your parents care? Did they care too much, too little? Did they overindulge you? Did they leave you to your own devices? Try and read your karmic record. Try and see how it was that you got to where you are. And try and look at your circumstances now, whether you're in a positive life, whether you're all often anxious and fearful, and what you want to change. You're still in the karma producing part of your life. And so you can change. Release the cows. Release everything. And allow things to come to the fore. Remember, in all of this is that big word, acceptance. Acceptance of me, acceptance without resentment of our lives, of what we've been given, of what is repetitive in our lives. Everything. Find your peace. Remember, when the wheel turns, when you're at the park and the wheel turns, you can only get off when the wheel stops. So you need to stop the wheel. Take responsibility for the change. Allow yourself to develop those 3 wisdoms, the hearing, the contemplating, and the meditative realization, so that you can wake up, so that by the time you come to the bardos, you are ready to drop this temporary identity, this temporary karma, this temporary everything, and fly. Know who you really are, not this temporary identity. just 2 minutes every day, a few times a day, to sit and watch if your mind is in distraction. Watch if it keeps going back, to pick up. Watch the repetitions and let the balloons go. Release the cows. I always promise I won't do so much teaching and then just comes bursting out. Sorry, everybody. You look tired today, Kathy. You do look very tired today. So listen, I think it's enough, but I will stay if anybody wants to ask me anything. You're very welcome to ask me. But let's just dedicate, and then I will stay for those of you that want to, and those of you that just want to go and contemplate, that's fine. As long as you keep contemplating this, it's one of the most wonderful teachings when you just think that the Buddha gave 12 interdependent co-arising links, and you can stop them on the way just with awareness. It's the most amazing thing. Really, really is. When I do it again and again, I think, wow, this is absolutely amazing. So let's dedicate, I will stay afterwards for your question. Let's dedicate to all sentient beings, to all the wars, to all the peace negotiations, to all the people who are suffering, to all the children in Gaza, to all the hostages, to all the people suffering in Ukraine, to all the people everywhere suffering. Through this merit, may we achieve all-seeing Buddhahood, and thereafter, once all harmful enemies have been defeated or even seen for what they are, may all beings be liberated from the ocean of existence, that's the wheel of life, stirred by the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Sonamdiye tamche zipane topne nepe dranam tamshene Cheganachi bala rupaye sipe sole doa do warisho. So I'm going to stop the recording.